episode. I have no idea. Um, and as for people that know me, know that I've been trying to launch this podcast for years. And I got a message from higher up and higher above that was like, you have everything that you need. You just have to start. And then God stopped talking to me. So, because the last thing I heard from God was, I just need to start, I gave myself a 2 week hiatus after finishing my master's program. Y'all, I'm an epidemiologist. Say that 3 times. Um, and I gave myself space to sit in it for one, but then also really try to figure out how did I want this to look as an independent researcher, epidemiologist, Black woman scientist. I've entered into a space where can't nobody tell me nothing. I'm not regulated. I'm not told what to do. I have the expertise now. And I think that is something a lot of us from the inner city, a lot of us from low economic resource backgrounds, um, we kind of don't think about is what does it look like when we're not being told what to do, not being told how to look for work, how to work for other people. As great of an employee I could not stand being an employee. So as a researcher, I'm like, oh wow, I get to do all this stuff. I get to do all this work by myself. But how? So it's very interesting to be in this space right now because I'm just learning a lot of what this will look like when I start entering these spaces, but also what does it look like when it's time for me to pass the baton, give back? Because as a Black woman scientist, there's not many of us in this space, and they are trying to get rid of this space, especially public health science. And I remember going to the conferences, and the senior epidemiologists are just like, we are happy y'all did not give up on this industry after COVID. And I'm like, I was in there right in the middle of COVID, so I was gonna get this degree. Um, and the process of what I have to do to think about what's next is it looks completely different from undergrad, completely different from the work I've been doing for the past decade. And it's kind of nerve wracking, I can admit, and I can be honest about that. But I wanted to, just get back into the field of one, being consistent with my podcasting, right? And understanding that I need to be consistent and understanding that I need for people to see what I do. Um, the biggest accomplishment is being able to tell my family, y'all can tell people you have an epidemiologist, an epidemiologist. These are things that I am big on representation, but also big on making sure people know like what's happening, what's going on. So I'm just huge on making sure people understand and know that I did this for us. Put us in different rooms, put us in different spaces, put us in different corners of just knowing different people, being able to expose my family to scientific research. Like, yeah, like this stuff is cool if it's done right. And that's my goal, is to make sure that it's done right, to make sure that people are staying interested in science and data, because as Black people, and I'm talking about Black people right now, and as inner city Black people, our exposure to certain things is getting us left behind. And It took me 5 years to do a 2 year program. And if I didn't have MS, I would have got through it. But with MS and also with the lack of resources to support me, it took me 3 extra years to get through a program where I crushed it at the end. Like knowing my stuff, learning how to code, learning how to develop different models, looking at statistical data, especially race based data, and wanting to be able to talk about race based data, talk about race based health without people using those as, well, that's why this is happening. No, we have this data, we have this information, so we can do something about it, not to justify. And I think that is the biggest part of medicine, healthcare, public health that it bothers me so much is we have all this knowledge, but instead of using the knowledge to fix and problem solve, we use it as justification of why this is happening. And then when you go deeper into this, and I'm going to jump right into my next topic, when you go deeper into being a scientist and then having to talk to doctors and telling doctors, hey, this is your outcomes. And instead of saying, oh, well, your patients is black, so that's why the outcome is going to happen. No, telling a doctor, hey, you have black patients and they have a higher outcome of these things. What are you going to do to ensure that certain health outcomes does not happen in this population? You see how that changes the conversation about how to fix problems? Like, that is my disruption coming into this field as an epidemiologist, as a researcher. We have the information. We have the historical information. We have the current information. We have people doing the research. But instead of taking the research and problem solving, it seems like there's a justification of what we looked into it. Like, that's what it seems like they're doing right now, is what we looked into it. And we see this is what's happening. What we looked into it. Okay, but what's happening next? Black women, like, my current fear of trying to have a child during this time is ridiculous because the stories that I hear, the stories that I see, that I study, the women look like me. They have a life like me. They went through life, like, they look like me. But for the whole industry to say, well, this just is happening and no one's doing anything about it, and there's no doctors being fired, there's no doctors being put on, you know, what, probation, termination list. And this is why being a doctor and being in spaces of that is so important. I want to jump right into my next topic, is being pretty and smart. Um, this whole thing with Dr. Cheyenne Bryant. So let me first start off by saying I have no, like, I actually liked her, and I'm gonna use the past tense because it's just what I'm one of those people. Once I start feeling like there's discrepancy in stories and things that, like, how can I trust anything that you're saying to me? And especially when it comes to things that can be publicly proven. Like, once we go into this academic space, people can go and contact and see, and you got resumes, you got dissertation, you have all these different information that gets put out about you and about the work that you've done, and especially at a doctor level, right? It's frustrating to see someone who I resonate with. Um, she's a black girl, she from the inner city. She was exposed to a different level of life, and she went the academic route. And then also, she's a nice looking woman. Like, this is something that I enjoy seeing because I want us to show our girls that you can be pretty and have so much more going for yourself. You're pretty. It does not stop at you being pretty. But one of the things that started kind of red flagging me about her was her adjacent to the limelight. And again, everybody has their own journey when they go with their academia. Different people want to be different things. Get it, understand it. But especially as a therapist, especially as someone who has such licensing requirements and then having a doctorate as and then having doctor level education, you have to follow a lot of credentialing. And it even becomes to the point where if you are not showing up authentic, the people around you will see. One thing about the people in academia, we don't play about the proof because we go through all this hard work. Like, yes, when I get my degree, it's going right on my parents' wall. Like, there is, you have to have that proof, especially being a first gen. What do you mean? You're first gen. So I go back to because I watched all her interviews with the guys, and I go back to Dr. Umar conversation with Nick Cannon, and he did refer, or yeah, I think it was Nick Cannon. He did reference that she can see the narcissism because she is a narcissist. And as I watch her interviews, and as I watch her keep trying to basically make it seem like she ain't lying, I don't know if the woman lying, but it sure sound like you lying. And that is a pure narcissistic trait of when you sound like you lying or you know you're being like you have discrepancies. And then that's also another thing too. I do want to pause on like language and talking. I am from the inner city. I am from a country mother. In my comfortable talk, I do not say everything correctly. Like me and my man, we laugh at all the time because I will missay some words, and he'd be like, "You like I swear you got a master's degree," and I'm like, "I know, right? Like, put some of these scientific words in here, and I can say it, but certain conversations, certain words, just from where I'm growing up." And you can call it ghetto, you can call it country. I don't care because most of my conversations when I do talk to people is of my people. And even when I'm not of my people, I don't code switch. Like, granted, I know what words not to say or what words not to butcher, because I want to keep my level of intellect high. But in comfort talk, in comfort, like I tell people, please do not police my language. I'm not, and I think a lot of people don't understand the duality of me yet, but y'all gonna get to know it. I can turn things on and off. Like when I tell you speaking epidemiological, scientific, statistical, like I have to have these certain languages. So it's not that I'm not intellectual. It's the fact that I don't care to use that type of language in my everyday because I do talk to my people. And it was an episode of the Upshaws, love the Upshaws, um, where Regina, is she was running for office, and Lucretia was trying to tell her like, "Hey, you need to dumb it down." Like, nobody. And it was so funny because they were trying to role play. And Regina said something, and Lucretia was like, like we were just trying to have a conversation. Dang, back up, like." And I learned that the hard way. I learned that the hard way that I speak. Like someone told me, I speak as if I'm writing a paper. And when you're in school for so long, you can't help it. But then when you're going to, okay, I need to transfer this information to a certain community, that's when I had to learn, okay, I can't always be in my academic framework when I'm talking to my community. But then also I learned like I can talk however I want to, just as long as I'm not in front of people saying some crazy stuff. So because people were trying to, and going back to Dr. Cheyenne Bryant, they were trying to connect how she was saying things, how she were, and that didn't bother me, because again, I don't police my language. I talk how I talk. I talk how to everybody that I talk to, and even it just depends on the space. Right now, if I'm presenting, if I'm having dialogue with a certain group of people, then yes, my language gets cleaned up. But my comfort talk, I'm gonna use that all the time. And for Dr. Cheyenne to possibly have some discrepancies, it hurt my feelings because as an inner city black girl, like, again, I saw her. When I heard her story, I saw me. And I'm like, oh, that's dope. And then again, you grown, you're being able to navigate in these male dominant spaces. Like, oh my God, that's so dope. But don't lie to us, or don't lie. Like, get your stuff together. And that takes me to my next topic of just I took so long with doing this podcast. Like, I even opened my iPad and I have so many episodes already. But I wanted to make sure that when I'm dropping these podcasts, when I'm dropping these episodes, they have some level of authenticness, and like, it ain't no BS. Like, I'm not a person of, well, just do it for the money or just do it so you can get, like, I'm not that person. Everything that I do, I have a passion behind it. Everything that I do, I have a purpose behind it. And I've been knocking out my personal goals, and now I'm like, what do I do next? Well, I have to build these systems to make sure that I can sustain what I done accomplished. And I think that is one thing that people don't talk about with us as Black people is we're so talented. We're so talented. But we don't have systems, and most of us lack consistency. And a lot of us, and I can attest to it, like, I'm a great employee, but when it comes to me doing it myself, I'm lazy when it comes to talking to myself. I'm not pushing myself. Like, and I had to remind myself that my dreams is not going to get done if I'm investing in everybody else's dreams. And my goals that I have to accomplish for myself becomes one of those things where it's like you need to build your system. You need to understand how this is going to look. And then especially I'm the first person, so I can't go to somebody and be like, hey, how did you do it? No, everybody's different. No one has my background. And no one has my background, and that pushes me towards the mentoring level, the investing in the next generation level of making sure that the resources that I didn't have, young girls that want to follow this route, they have it too. As Black people, and we're going to jump into the next one of political bait. So, in um, and this is probably where I'm going to chop my episode in half. So these videos are not too long, and then you'll get a part two.